Stuck to their phones, they don't even notice passengers who might need or want to sit down.
Well, this month, Transport for London celebrates 20 years since launching its Baby on Board badges. So our reporter Matt Graveling has been finding out if we're still paying attention to them.
Commuting, if I didn't travel into work outside of peak times, it's really difficult. If I do have to travel within those hours, getting a seat or being offered a seat is very, very hard. Not the easiest, definitely 6 months pregnant.
Hannah's journey today is outside of the rush hour, so thankfully there's lots of free seats. But Hannah says she's usually left to stand, despite wearing her Baby on Board badge.
A lot of people are glued to their mobile phones, so they tend to just fixate more looking down on the ground rather than actually just looking up and being aware of their surroundings.
TfL celebrates 20 years since this badge was released, and it comes with a plea to passengers.
I think that we could all sometimes break out of the bubble that we're in, cast our eyes up, look around and see if there's somebody that might need a seat more than you do.
I guess having Wi-Fi now underground probably isn't helping people get away from their phones.
The fact that we've now got 4 and 5G on so many of our train services is fantastic in terms of people being able to get more content, but it also can perhaps lead to people to be a little bit more engrossed in what they're looking at.
Over the last 2 decades, Transport for London estimate they've given away more than 1 million of these Baby on Board badges. And now, to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the badge, a new one has been born. Babies on Board, for mothers of twins, triplets, or maybe even more.
Shauna Levin is a mum of twins and chief executive of Twins Trust.
Having more than one baby at a time brings extra anxiety, but also worse symptoms in many cases than having a single pregnancy. And we'd love for the community to be more aware of this so that they can better support people that are pregnant with more than one baby.
But how do you feel about the badges? We shared Hannah's story online. Here's a couple of the comments.
I was 10 weeks pregnant and my badge was ignored. I collapsed on the train from the heat. Unless it's a priority seat, you don't have the right to one. People work long hours and they're not obligated to give up their seats unless they want to.
Etiquette on TfL has gone out the window. We need re-highlighting of these through announcements, posters, etc. It's getting ridiculous.
While filming with Hannah, we boarded one busy train where Simon gave up his seat.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
When my wife was pregnant and had a badge, I think she was always grateful. The badge is extremely useful then for sending a clear message.
These badges are available for free from TfL, who continue to call for kindness on the commute and hope all passengers will get on board. Matt Graveling, BBC News.
Well, we are joined now by Paul Dolan, who is Professor of Behavioural Science at the London School of Economics. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning. So, what's wrong with us all? Why don't we look up from our phones and try and look after each other?
Good morning, Sally. Well, I mean, whether it's due to our phones, I mean, I can remember travelling on the tube all of my life. And in fact, my wife, when she had our first child, wore one of those Baby on Board badges. And we were engrossed in our newspapers then. So the thing is, we don't have very good causal evidence on whether we're now more selfish or more self-centred or more focused inwards than we once were. I mean, the phones certainly do draw our attention down and inwards. And we don't actually have any evidence, it's awful to say this first thing, but we don't have any evidence really about any of this. What we might be able to say is a few things about why those badges could work. Right, so first of all, we have very good causal evidence that people are happier when they help other people. We're sensitive to social signals. We take our cues for action for what's around us. And wearing that badge doesn't actually ask anybody to give up a seat, does it? It actually just says Baby on Board. So it's a signal to somebody to stand. On the other hand, we all know, we've all been witness to when we look for other people to act first, it's called the bystander effect. And in fact, the more there are other people there, the more we might look to others to make the first move. So it's all a bit messy, to be perfectly honest, Sally.
It's all a bit messy. So in terms of,
Sorry,
I think, but psychologists and behavioural experts, isn't it called sort of nudging when you do things like giving a badge? So it's not necessarily formal legal change. It's just a way of suggesting behaviour. How influential can nudges be?
Yeah, super question. So as I said, we are so influenced by our context, actually much more than the cognition of our minds. So if you can design the environment in ways that make it easier for people to do things that you'd like them to, they're more likely to do them. It's interesting, isn't it, though, that the badges are focused on the pregnant woman, not on the passengers who might be nudged, right? So, of course, you can make the badges bigger and brighter, but we could also try to activate the passengers themselves. So there's one case study, I think it was in Rotterdam, where they gave travel card holders their little holder card thing saying sustainable traveller, which primed people to use the bus. And I think there was some evidence there showing that actually worked. So we could tap into the passengers more than we might do the pregnant women.
And do you think, I know you're saying that there's not clear evidence of this, but do you think it's what, you would hear anecdotally, that we are getting just a little bit grumpier than we used to be?
Getting a little bit grumpier. I mean, you'd expect an academic to say that the evidence is mixed, and it is a bit. I mean, we're certainly, most of the evidence from around the world shows that we're less trustful than we were 20 years ago, say. We're probably a little bit less pro-social. Donations to charities have fallen over the last 20 years. But I do think that it's still, and also it is worth saying that probably being on the tube is about the most selfish environment you could ever be in, right? It's a bit of a crazy place for trying to get people to act in the interest of others. But I do think those priority seats, announcements, I think they can still work. So I'm a little bit optimistic.
And, we're talking this morning about energy supplies and fuel supplies, and we've all seen queues at the petrol stations over the last few days as people get a bit anxious. Are there lessons to be learned from behavioural studies about how we manage that and try to conserve our stocks and not panic?
Yeah, don't panic, stay calm. That is, in a world where we are feeling maybe more anxious, more fearful, more uncertain, it's a natural part of the human condition to look inwards. And so we might expect people to be just that little bit more self-interested. And of course, they've got every reason to be. So I think it is a case of looking up. That's what we talked about with people's phones, or just actually actively, literally look up. And also, as I say, to think about ways in which we can arrange our lives, organise the choice architecture in ways that make it just that little bit easier for people to be a bit more helpful. And I do think some of the seating and announcements can actually do that, on the tube in particular.
Professor Paul Dolan, thank you so much for talking to us this morning.
Thank you so much, Sally. Thank you.
Anything I can get you?
You're being very nice to me all of a sudden. Cup of tea, please.
I'm looking up. Right. It's 7:30. Let's get the news of the travel and weather where you are. I can make a cup
and the tea.